Hello, I'm Bob Bradley. This is THE 101, Introduction to Theater and Drama Arts. My program today is an interview with students who are currently, as of this taping, at SMS and who are hoping and seeking and expecting to find a career as performers after they leave here. I hope you enjoy meeting these three future actors, performers, professional. They are already the actors, but these future professional actors, entertainers, and I hope you enjoy hearing from them. My first guest is Antoine Budget. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let's start with where are you from?
I am from Grain Valley, Missouri, which is about 25 miles outside of Kansas City. It's a suburb.
Okay. And what kinds of, let's say, entertainment activities did you do before you came to SMS?
Well, in high school, I've always been involved in musical theater. I took Taekwondo for 4 years and got a black belt in Taekwondo. However, I got kind of burnt out, if you will, on Taekwondo and focused on theater and did theater all through high school. And that was the majority of my activity, so.
And then why did you decide to come to SMS?
I had a friend that went here who went to high school with me, and she liked the department, and I talked to her, and she's like, yeah, you should come and look at it. And so my mom and I came up, and we got to see Damn Yankees and auditioned for a musical theater scholarship, and I liked the department and what I saw. And that was pretty much what brought me here.
Mm-hmm. And why did you choose this particular field as the one you're going to go into?
Because ever since I can remember, I've always loved to dance and perform, and I can't see myself doing anything else. I don't know, it's what I love to do, and it's what I do well. And so therefore, I figured, well, if I can get paid doing what I love, as opposed to finding a job that I'm just happen to be good at but don't really care about or don't have a passion for, then why not do that?
So first and foremost, what you're letting your passions rule you in this case?
Yes.
What kind of practical considerations have you given to all of this?
Practical, it's not the most stable job. It's not your 9 to 5 by any means. However, I feel that if you have the determination and have taken the steps to ensure that you can only do the best that you can in the field and stay prayerful, in my opinion, then you'll have as much success as you deserve.
Mm-hmm. What kinds of steps have you taken to try to to lay a foundation for that success?
Well, I started taking dance lessons in high school, and I've been singing since I was in 2nd grade. I've been in choir, I've sang in the church choir, so I started taking dance lessons. When I got to school here and we had requirements we had to meet as far as musical education, having to take music theory, different acting classes, different dance classes, that helped to further my education and my ability in those fields. So I wouldn't just be going to an audition not knowing what song to sing or how even to sing that song or how to perform a monologue, because there are certain bases you have. Just as in accounting or computers, you have to go and take your computer classes to understand what you're doing on the computer. You just can't go one day and say, well, I'll be a computer major and fiddle around the computer, because you'll blow something up or erase important documentation. It's just a matter of taking the classes you need in your field to further your information in that field, because everyone has a general information about something. It's just focusing in on what you specifically want to do and taking the classes that ensure that you know all you need to know about that field.
Well, I know also in the past 2 summers, you have gotten some special background material or some special education because you've done work in an equity professional productions in St. Louis. So tell us about what you found there. And
Well, I worked at Stages in St. Louis, and it is a professional equity theater. I was, this past summer, I was the only adult non-equity member to be hired at the theater because they're trying to make the theater an all-equity company. And working there, I learned about preparation, determination, because you have a 2.5-week rehearsal process where you go in at 10 a.m. and you rehearse until 12 or 1 o'clock, and you have an hour and a half for lunch, and then you continue until 6. And what I noticed from the professional actors was how prepared they were for each rehearsal. The leads, in most cases, would come in and be off book, meaning off book is when you have memorized all of your lines and your dialogue. They will be off book within the first week of rehearsals because you have such a limited amount of time.
okay, you were rehearsing 2.5 weeks.
Yes.
Okay, so
And-
this is and the rehearsals are, because it's an equity, they are only 8 hours a day.
Yes.
In the first whatever until you get to your texts and dresses.
Yes.
So you're limited in the amount of time that you have.
Yes, you are. And the more prepared you can be as an individual in that show, the better it is, because the directors don't have to worry about if you have your lines memorized, because you've come in with your lines memorized, so they can work on, okay, this is why you're saying this is where you have to move when you're saying this line, this is where you have to move when you're singing this song. And with choreography, you have to be able to pick it up quickly, because you may learn a dance on Monday and not review that dance until that Thursday or even Friday. So if you haven't retained what you learned on Monday, it's basically like drawing a large diagram on a chalkboard and erasing it and having to go back and start all over again because you weren't able to progress.
What did you do in order to retain, if you did the choreography, you learned the choreography on Monday, what did you do to help yourself retain those steps, those dance movements?
I would take it upon myself, if I was at home, to run through the steps, because we would also make tapes. When we have vocal rehearsals, make tapes of the songs. So you would have the songs, and I would run through the steps in my head, and if there was something I couldn't figure out in my head, I would actually do the steps, mark them, just walk through them, try and figure them out. If I had any questions, I would ask other cast members. And it's just, you have to take it upon yourself to continue the work after the work day has finished, because theater is a 24/7 job, with the exception of when you're sleeping, and in some cases you may even dream about your work. So you don't get a break.
Yeah.
But just because you aren't in a theater rehearsing doesn't mean that you aren't responsible for working.
Once the show opened, and each show played, is it 5 weeks?
Yes, just about 4.5.
4.5 weeks. And if I remember correctly, at Stages you do 9 performances a week, or 8?
There's 8 for the first 2 weeks
Yeah,
of the run, and then the last 2.5 you do 9 performances a week.
Okay. How did you adjust to that, or that is in this having to do this over and over and over again?
Well, actually, it wasn't too hard of an adjustment for me, because before I worked at Stages, I worked for 3 years at Worlds of Fun in Kansas City, and Worlds of Fun is an amusement park. And at Worlds of Fun, you do 4 to 5 shows a day, about 20 shows a week, and at least 350 shows within 3 months. Mm-hmm. So working there was a great starting point for me, because you get the repetition of a show, and you have to find something new within that show when you get into that first month, because you've done the same thing every day. And if you don't find something new, then it gets boring to you, and it gets boring to the audience members. So actually, I think depending on what you're cast in a musical, if you're a lead, it's a little harder to do 8 to 9 shows a week, as if you're a chorus member, depending on the show you're in. For instance, we did Carousel at Stages, and as a chorus member, that is a very easy show. You don't do there's not a lot of dancing. There are very few scenes where you're on singing, so it's not as taxing on you physically. So therefore, I was like, oh, well, this is easy compared to doing 5 shows a day at Worlds of Fun, where you're singing and dancing constantly for 30 minutes. So it wasn't as hard to adjust coming from college where you do 3 to 4 shows and then you're done.
Mm-hmm. So, and how many shows did you, let's see, the first summer you were there, you did what shows at stages?
Damn Yankees and She Loves Me.
Okay, you did 2 that summer, and then the following summer?
I did 2 as well, which were Carousel and Sweet Charity.
Okay, okay. How did those shows compare, that is, in terms of the work required of you? What did you...
Well, let's see. Well, Sweet Charity was by far the most physically taxing of all the 4 shows that I've done at stages, because there was a lot of dancing, and it was choreographed by Bob Fosse, and Bob Fosse has a very specific style with long lines.
Choreography.
Yes.
The original choreography. Yes. Fosse's now dead, but anyway.
This is true. So, but just learning that choreography, and it was very athletic, the dancing that I was doing. So having to sing the show and dance the show was very taxing. And it just deals with stamina and allowing yourself to do it. And you loving it makes it easier for you to do.
What kinds of things did you do, I guess I would say, to preserve yourself or to make sure that you had the physical energy to do this? What did you do?
You have to sleep right, get enough sleep. Also, you have to take care of yourself, your body as a whole. You can't, just in every day, you have to make sure before the show you're warmed up physically and vocally so you can sing and dance. You just can't walk in and, okay, I'm ready to go, because that's not how it works. It would be if you were running track. You couldn't just go and start running. You'd have to stretch out and warm up to make sure your muscles were warm. And there's also a mentality of it. You have to be mentally ready as well, because it's not just you on stage. You affect all of the other people on stage. So if you're not mentally there, if you mess up, or if you sing when you're not supposed to sing, or you're dancing in someone else's space, that affects everyone. So it's not just, oh, it's just me on stage. You are part of an ensemble, so you are responsible for everyone else looking good in addition to yourself.
Right. When you leave SMS, what's the first thing you're going to do, and how are you going to get this accomplished?
Well, the first thing I will do, I'll go back home and I will get a part-time job after the new year. I have an audition in January for Stages, again for their summer season. I auditioned earlier this week in Branson for Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, upon which I expect to hear from them by the end of January if I have a job offer or not. I will work also, and I have work as soon as March at a children's theater in Kansas City, at the Coterie Children's Theater.
Oh, okay.
And I've worked there before.
So you're going to be at the Coterie this spring then?
Yes.
Oh, good. Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, we certainly appreciate your being here, and appreciate your talking and sharing your feelings about what you're going to do, and we wish you great success.
Thank you very much, Dr. Bradley.
Okay, thank you. My guest is Jessica Anderson, who is currently a student SMS and will be graduating soon. And we're going to talk about the kinds of choices that she has made, and why she has made these choices, and what she hopes to do when she leaves here. So, Jessie, welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Let's start with, where are you from, and how did you get to SMS?
Well, I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, and the main reason I came here is my junior year of high school. I participated in a program here at SMS called Missouri Fine Arts Academy in the summer, and it was a 3-week arts camp, basically, where I spent it with 200 people doing the same thing as I did, and I worked with a lot of the faculty from the theater and dance department, and they made a very strong impression on me, so that's why I ended up coming here.
All right, okay. When you came here, what, let's back up. What kind of experience had you had in performing or theatrical before you came here?
I started dancing when I was 2, and that's what
2 years old?
2 years old.
2 years old,
2
and
years
you were
old.
dancing?
Tap dancing, actually. And so I did that until I was in 8th grade, and I did it really a lot. By the time I quit, I think I was going like 6 nights a week to the studio for 5 hours every night. And so when I went to high school, I quit that because I knew I wasn't going to be a dancer professionally, and I didn't want to spend that much time. And I had watched my grandparents do theater for the last about 6 or 7 years, and I would go to their rehearsals during the summer, so I thought...
And what kind of theater did they do?
Musical theater.
Okay.
I specifically remember going to watch Fiddler on the Roof. They did Fiddler on the Roof one summer, and I spent a week watching their rehearsals at night.
Okay, and this was a community theater, so they did other things during the day?
Right,
or...
exactly. They had the regular jobs during the day
Right.
and did community theater at night. And so when I went to high school, I thought I might like to try theater. So when I was in high school, I did the musical every year, and I did some one-acts. And towards the end of high school, my junior and senior year, I did some straight plays. So, but nothing in the
Straight
summer.
plays, in case we should say.
Oh.
Oh, for those people who don't know, that's a non-musical.
Right, right, just speaking, no
That's
singing.
right.
So, yeah, that's all I did before I came here. Not a lot, actually. I really got heavily involved once I came to college.
Okay, but why did you decide this is what you wanted to do?
I think partially, I think the impressions that were created in my mind by watching my grandparents' rehearsals had a lot to do with it, because it was sitting there and experiencing kind of that sense of community among all the actors that participated in their show. And finally, once I got on stage, feeling that feeling of being on stage and being able to command, 500 people's attention at one time. And I don't know, and being able, I think that in our real lives, we tend to be a little, we're not very emotional, and it's an amazing process to be able to get up on stage and be able to just go through any emotion that the script calls for, and that's always been a big draw for me, so.
How, okay, this is a desire that you have. How much practicality entered into your making this decision?
None at all. There's nothing practical about this career. I'm leaving this school knowing, that I'm going to be jobless, and that it could take, I think I was reading something the other day, and there's an actress named Edie Falco on Broadway right now, and she was saying that she waited tables for 15 years before she ever got a job
And this is
in New York.
Edie Falco, who is in the Soprano television series, and is appearing on Broadway. And so what did you find out about her?
Yeah, that 15 years, she spent 15 years waiting tables before she ever got a show in New York. And
so that means, let's say, she was early 20s when she
Probably.
got there, so this means somewhere in her mid-30s?
Right. And I think there are people from our school that are on Broadway now, right? But it took them about 10 years in New York, I think, if I remember correctly. So it doesn't make very good money unless you're on tour, I guess. So you're never having the prospect of being rich unless you become a movie star. But I tend to be more interested in the theater side than the film side anyway. So no, there's nothing practical about it at all.
Okay. So when you leave here, what do you expect to do to pay your bills? How are you going to make your way?
Isn't that the question? It's really important, I think, because I'm moving to New York, that you have money saved. And so I'm going to spend a good deal of this summer working in Kansas City and saving up money.
And you say working?
Probably waiting tables.
All right.
Yep, the usual. So, but if you have money saved up, when you go there, it gives you a greater chance, I think, and I hope, of being able to spend some time auditioning and not having to worry too much about coming up with your rent and all that stuff. Ideally, I'd like to have enough money to get me through 2 months of rent in New York City, which is a lot of money, but So that way you're not worrying about that job, that you can start auditioning and try to get work in the field.
I know that you have, I think, for at least the 2 past summers, gone out and spent the summers doing some sort of special workshops and other things. Why don't you, what kinds of things did you do, and why did you make those choices?
Well, I did summer stock both years, and actually the reason I decided to do that is the summer after my freshman year, I did tent theater here, and I did all 3 shows, and I spent the summer doing that, and I really, really enjoyed it. It was a unique chance to be able to spend 3 months doing nothing but theater, not having to worry about schoolwork or another job or anything like that. And so my sophomore year, I went to an audition called SETC, Southeastern Theater Conference.
Yes.
And you get a chance to audition for about 100 different companies. And I got a job from Lees McRae Summer Theater in North Carolina. And so I went there for the summer, and I did 3 shows over the summer, much like tent theater, only it was indoors instead of outdoors. And then the next year, I did the same thing, went back to SETC, and I got 2 jobs that year, actually. One was from the Granbury Opera House in Texas, and the other was from the Berkshire Theater Festival in Massachusetts, and that's the last one is the one I chose. And that was actually an apprenticeship. So I paid $2,500 to go there for the summer. And I took classes. I took a full semester worth of classes. I did 2 shows. I had master classes with a lot of people from Broadway and from LA. And I got to understudy an equity show, which is a professional theater show on their main stage. So it was a big business choice. That's the reason I went there, as well as a learning opportunity, because I got an amazing amount of classwork that we don't have a lot of those classes here. And then I also got to network with probably 30 to 50 people who are actively working in New York right now, so that I know someone when I go up there.
What, you said you took some master classes. What kinds of master classes did you have? And anybody in particular, or, I mean, that was outstanding as far as you were concerned?
Yeah, a lot of the master classes were actually just discussions and being able to ask questions, but I had one with Robert Vaughn, who was on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. in the 70s. Ago. Yeah, and most people my age, I think, know him from a lawyer commercial he's on, a law firm commercial he's on now. But I had a master class with him, and that was really amazing to listen to him, because he got his break. He got out of school and got a huge movie contract like 2 months after he got out of school, and never had a problem. So that was really interesting to listen to, because you don't hear that story very often, you know. I also had a master class with Paul Hecht, who's an LA actor.
Also theater,
and
however.
Theater, yes, he does a lot of classical theater, I think, at the...
Right, and he did musicals at one, because I know...
he did, I didn't know that.
He did the Rothschilds.
Oh, really?
Yes,
I didn't know that. He didn't tell
Years
us
ago,
that.
Yes.
And I had a voice master class, like a vocal, we went through audition pieces with Melissa Hart, who was the original Sally Bowles in the first national tour of Cabaret. And she was in the Scarlet Pimpernel recently, and she's doing something at the Goodspeed right now. So, and that was really amazing.
In fact, I was in school with her.
You were?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
She was an undergraduate when I was a graduate student.
Oh my gosh. See, it's a small world.
Yeah, the theater is always a very small world.
That actually was one of the really amazing things about this summer, is the show I understudied. It was called A Saint She Ain't, and it was the American premiere of a musical. And I'd say at least 5 people in the cast knew people from SMS, and that made it really easy to strike up conversations with them. A couple of them had just come from Chicago on Broadway, which we have 2 students in right now. The choreographer knows Cheryl Miller, a former dance teacher of ours, as well as all of the people from Chicago, and he knows another professor. So anyway, it made it really easy to be able to get to know them quicker, because we had something to talk about.
So in some ways you found that the SMS connection worked for you.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing, because then you don't, there's this element in theater of the schmoozing, this kind of idea of like having to, you know, talk to people and get to know them, but it was so easy because those people were so nice that I genuinely wanted to have a conversation with them, and You know, when I told them I was from Springfield and that I was from SMS, we talked for hours about the people we knew.
Right.
So it was really nice to find that.
Okay. In your dreams, what do you hope 5 years from now that you're doing?
Theater, first off, constantly, and not waiting tables. We'll start with the little goals
All right.
first.
And we hope it's not the 15 years of Edie Falco.
Right, exactly. And, you know, I love musical theater and I love straight theater, so I don't care which I'm doing, but I would like to be working in New York, and I would love ultimately to be doing Broadway and off-Broadway, and some of the regional theaters up on the East Coast, the big regional theaters like Long Wharf and the Berkshire Theater Festival, Williamstown. I would love to be able to do those during the summer as well.
Okay. Well, we wish you, as you say in the theater, break a leg.
Yeah.
We won't say, so we certainly wish you great success, and hope that after you leave here that you find that what you've learned here has really given you the foundation you need so that you can go ahead. Thank you, Jessie.
Thank you.
Okay. Jermaine Blackwell is currently a senior at SMS and will be graduating soon at the time of this particular taping. So we're talking to him today about why he wants to do what it is that he's going to do and why he came to SMS. So welcome, Jermaine.
Thank you very much.
Okay, so let's start with, where are you from?
I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, actually.
Okay, and what kinds of entertainment activities did you do before you came to SMS?
I, it all started kind of in preschool and kindergarten. We would always have little shows that I participated in, and I loved it then. And then I went through elementary school and didn't do much there. I mean, we would have choirs, stuff there. Got to high school, and well, I actually got to junior high school, did a play, loved it. Only had one line, but it didn't matter because I got to perform and get attention on stage, and people laughed at my line. And then I got to high school and did all the musicals there, and the plays in high school, and just fell in love with it.
Mm-hmm. And so why did you choose then to come to SMS?
It was close to home. You guys have a musical theater department, which is very rare in this area. And I heard it was a good musical theater department, and it was new. And that's what I wanted to do. I didn't necessarily want to do straight theater. I wanted to work on producing a voice and learning how to dance and act and how to get into the market and be a performer.
Okay, so why did you make this choice? That is not the choice of it. Why did you make this choice to choose this program, this background? What is it you're going to do with it?
You know what? That's what I'm asked all the time. I hope to be successful in this career. That's my main hope, is to be a success in it. I would like to, when I graduate soon, to get on a tour. And I make it sound easy, but it's not easy at all. But my goal is to get a tour and do that for about 2 years and save up some money before I move to New York. Mm-hmm. Because if you don't have any money, it's hard. It's hard, and I have no money saved up right now.
Okay. How much practical consideration have you given to this?
None, none at all, none at all. It's not practical at all. You never know where your next job is coming from. You never know if you're going to be able to pay the rent. You never know if you're even going to succeed in this job, because you can never tell. You can never tell what they want, the producers and directors, and. You know, I tell people when they're, telling me that they want to do this, younger students who are in high school that I've talked to, and they say they want to do this, I tell them that they must absolutely love it. Because, I mean, there's no point of doing it if you don't love it, because it's fun, but it's hard.
It's fun, but it's hard. It's hard in what kinds of ways? The fun part we know,
yeah.
But let's talk about the hard part.
It's hard, I believe. I hate to say it, but emotionally, the rejection that you're going to have to deal with, that you can never really prepare yourself for fully, going in and telling them that, oh, you're not right for this, or you're not right for that, and the uncertainty of, like I said before, not knowing where the next paycheck is coming from, how you're going to pay your bills, just stuff like that. And then also putting yourself on stage emotionally for everyone to see and going through emotions as a performer.
How has your family reacted to all of this and your choices?
Well, I come from a family that is pretty much very athletic. My uncle is a fireman. One of my other uncles cuts hair. My mother is a nurse. And then I came along, and all of my cousins, I'm an only child, and all of my cousins all played sports like soccer and softball and basketball. And I was not into that. I kind of like to sit at home and watch TV and cartoons. And I told them that I kind of just sprung it on them one day that I was going to go to school and be a musical theater major. And they were a little wary at first. And then they've seen me in shows and they see how much I love it, and that I do a pretty decent job at it. And they're supporting me wholeheartedly now.
When you said they're athletics, do you mean that's just in their pastime?
Yes.
None. Is anyone of a professional or
No,
in any way?
No, not at all. Well, actually, my cousin played soccer for Kansas City on their soccer team. And so he's the other star of the family that my cousins like to kid about. I'm one of the stars and he's the other star. But yeah, I mean, all of them, I mean, they don't do sports so much now. They're a little bit older, but my aunts and uncles rather. But they all have this sports background. I mean, even my aunt played all these sports like baseball and football and basketball. And she's actually the one who taught me how to throw a football. So.
Have they and you seen possible parallels here, and that is their feelings about athletics and your feeling about entertainment?
My grandmother, she has said that she doesn't necessarily like the entertainment field or the athletic field because it's uncertain at the same time of, but we've not talked much about the parallels, if you will, of the athletics and the arts or theater at all. We probably will talk more about it. I'll have discussions with my grandmother when I go home.
Right. Well, I mean, I was just thinking that in many ways, perhaps one way to help them understand what it is here, it's almost the same kind of passion.
Yes, exactly.
In many ways.
Exactly.
And certainly also in terms of the monetary rewards.
Yeah.
And that is, or I should say, the competitiveness.
Yes.
Because most athletics activities of any kind are highly competitive, and this theatrical field is highly competitive. And so, while the outcome is somewhat different, the basics of those are quite similar and quite parallel in some way or the other.
I never thought about it that way. I understand that.
Maybe you can use that now.
I will use that.
And say, hey, wait a minute, look, we do have some common goals and other ways there.
You taught me something today.
What kinds of things have you done to help prepare yourself? And that is, yes, your studies, but what kinds of things have you done to help prepare you for when you leave here?
I began networking. I worked at a summer stock theater 2 summers ago. It's the Barn Theater in Augusta, Michigan. And it was the most educational experience I've had. It was really hard. We worked pretty much an average of 96 hours a week. Pretty much every day of the week. We started at 10 o'clock in the morning and went until about 12 o'clock at night.
Now, was this was an equity theater?
Yes, it was an equity summer
But
stock.
you were working as an apprentice, or?
Yes. Which pretty much meant that there were the equity actors, the professional actors, and then there were the apprentices. And we got to work with them on stage, and during the day we got to learn all aspects of theater, as in making costumes, building the sets, working in the box office. Actually, we also cleaned the grounds of the theater. We pretty much ran the entire theater. I even helped build an outhouse. That's part of their tradition, is to have an outhouse at the theater, and we built a new one.
I was going to say, was this a practical outhouse, or was this just?
No, people actually used them, which
Yeah.
surprised me.
Yeah.
It was weird. But that's what we did. I mean, we ran that theater, and it was educational. I learned a lot about myself as a performer and as a person. And I got to meet a lot of cool people.
Now, the equity actors who came in, they played the lead roles.
For the most part, I mean, there wasn't like a lot of equity actors that came in, but I mean, they had like a resident company of equity actors, and then they brought in some other people to do certain roles.
Right.
And there were chances for the apprentices, or what we called EMCs, which are equity membership candidates, to be in those lead roles. So that's how it kind of worked out.
So, what kinds of things did you do on stage that particular summer?
I worked on an original musical written by one of the producers of the theater. I worked with Leif Garrett, who's a lot of older women know him. I'm really didn't know who he was at the time, but and Eric Riley from Broadway. He was in the original cast of Once on This Island, and he replaced Andre DeShields in Ain't Misbehavin' on Broadway, the original cast. I did Jekyll and Hyde there. I was in a play, and I only had one word in the entire show. I was a guard. And I was, I guess, a black Frenchman, and my line was Monsieur, and that was it.
Well, all right.
But I mean, I worked on 4 shows there. We worked for about 2 weeks on the shows. We rehearsed all day, and then at night we performed another show. So during the day we would rehearse the next show that was coming into the theater, and during the night we would perform another show.
And how long did each of the shows run?
They ran for 2 weeks. There were, I think we did 7 or 8 performances a week. I think, yeah. That's about how many we did.
Well, that would be a standard equity performance.
The house was closed on Monday.
7 to 8 performances a week. So you were doing those at night, and then you were doing
building the sets.
Your rehearsals during the day, and if you weren't rehearsing, you were doing everything else?
Yes, exactly. If you weren't in rehearsals, you were building the sets, which I pretty much painted the entire set of Oliver by myself, and I had to make a lot of wood look like rusted metal beams, and that was very interesting to learn that. But working the box office, which was fun also, and that's what we did. It's just if you weren't in a show, you were in rehearsals, and if you weren't in a show at night either, you were building something else, like building the costumes for the set or working in the box office. So some days you might not work in a show for about a month.
What did you find in that particular summer? What things that you had learned at SMS, how did they help you in some way for that particular summer?
I was really proud to come from SMS once I got there. It sounds kind of, I don't want to say not evil, but facetious. The SMS people represented really well down there. We were some of the most talented people. There was about 6 of us that got hired at that theater. And we worked with students from NYU and the Hart School of Music, I believe, in Connecticut. And everything, we had learned so much that a lot of those other students hadn't learned. And we were able to bring that to them and tell them about, how, equity and, Meisner and Stanislavski and stuff, some of those things that they hadn't actually gotten to yet. But I learned how to use my voice effectively singing 8 nights a week, which I had learned here, but actually to apply that 8 times a week.
Well, you'd never had a chance here to do it 8 nights a week or 8 performances a week.
And getting into that repetitiveness of doing a show that long, because I had only done shows probably, 3 to 4 performances total, up until then. So that was an interesting thing that I did also, first time, and it was really interesting to do a show that long. And I didn't dislike it, but I had never done the exact same show for longer than like 3 performances.
How you said you learned how to preserve yourself, preserve your voices. What kinds of things did you do? What did you specifically?
I just remembered everything that my voice teacher taught me.
Oh, all right.
That's pretty much everything my voice teacher taught me. I don't know. You just have to. You just kind of have to be careful because it's easy to get vocal problems when you're performing like that, and especially if you're singing hard. And so being here and learning, having my voice lessons, it's taught me to sing properly so that I can try to avoid those problems of getting vocal nodes and tears.
Yeah, you're, especially if you're singing, that you have to take some very special measures to take care of yourself physically, because this is a physical instrument.
Yeah, it's your money. It's what pays your bills, and if you don't have it, you're not getting paid.
What do you hope? You said you would like to get a tour, but how do you plan on getting this tour?
The dreaded process of auditioning, and more auditioning because I don't.
Where are you going to audition?
Do you want to know where I'm going to audition?
Yeah.
Okay.
Once you leave here.
I've actually advanced to the final rounds of SETCs.
Southeastern Theater Conference.
Yes, I've advanced to that. Okay. And so in March I will go and do that. I might also go to another UPDAS in Memphis. And then when I leave here, hopefully a year from now, I will be in New York and auditioning there as much as I can and still have a job and be able to keep that job.
So, but basically auditioning, that's the way you get in.
Yeah, it's a horrible process. I mean, for me, the process of getting to the audition and mentally securing yourself, if you will, is hard. But once I get to the audition, I'm fine. I just went to an audition on Monday. And the thought of going to the audition and being judged, made me crazy. But then I got there and I was like, I have a job to do. I need to try to get this job. And I calmed myself out and tried to do the best that I could.
What, 5 years from now, what do you hope you see yourself doing?
I hope to be successful enough in 5 years to be able to support myself and my mother through theater. Because that's what I love to do. That's my goal in life, is to be a successful performer, being able to make my living as an actor. And if a Tony comes along or an Academy Award comes along, I would love that just as well.
Yeah. What I guess I would say, how are you preparing yourself? You've mentioned the finances, but how are you preparing yourself to move to New York? What considerations are you making now about this move?
I have to be practical right now. Like I said before, I have no money, and I need to.
And New York is no place to go without money.
Exactly. Even though you hear success stories of that happening, that's not going to happen to me. So I need to try to save up some money, and like I said, if I have to go work in Branson, which is where I went and auditioned, they pay you really well, and I can save up enough money so I can live in New York.
So you have done an audition for Branson, for the Branson theaters?
Yes, I did.
Right.
They're doing a show, Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Oh, you will be doing that?
No, I auditioned for it.
You auditioned for it?
I hope to be doing that.
Oh, okay.
I hope to be getting paid for that, doing it. But that's what I auditioned for. And they pay really well, and hopefully I can save up money, and then I'll go home for some time and get a normal person's job and try to save up money that way, and then move to New York.
And what kinds of ways do you think you'll pay your bills once you get to New York? That is, if you aren't acting.
I tell people that my dream would be to win the lottery.
Oh, I see.
So that I can work, so that I can audition full time. That's my dream, but I guess I have to play the lottery first. But I would like, I guess I would have to get like a night job or a really flexible job, which is always the waiting tables thing. Because waiting tables is a flexible job, and they'll work around your schedule, especially in New York, where everybody's an actor. But I would like to I would like to work at MTV if I could, but
So have you had practical table experience? Waiting experience?
I waited a table. I waited tables for a summer.
Okay. It's one of the necessities of any young actor.
Yes, I waited tables for a summer, and I spilled a drink on a little girl, but I recovered, and all was well.
Oh, okay. Very good. Well, We wish you great success.
Thank you very much.
And certainly we hope that when you leave here that things will happen for you quickly and early.
I hope so too.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jermaine.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed hearing from these three future professional actors. And I hope most of all that what you perhaps got from them is their passion for what they're doing. Because most of all, if you're seeking to have a professional career in this particular area, you must first and foremost have a passion, an absolute driving need to succeed. And I think, as you can see, in most cases, practicality is not what rules them. In fact, they all three have indicated that they well understand that the road is going to be a very hard one, that it is not easy to make a breakthrough, and that most of all, what will carry them will be their desire and their passion to succeed.